I'm here to talk about today why join the accounting club. And I know for myself, I got involved really late in school. All my friends are going off to the accounting club meeting. I'm like, where are you guys going? We're going to the accounting club meeting. That sounds like a wild party. They said, no, it's very informative. You gain exposure to the profession. You learn how to network. And quite often there's free food. I'm like, dude, count me in. But I didn't realize the incredible benefits I would obtain until I became an active member of the club. For example, let's say I'm a recruiter and I have 20 jobs to fill. Your goal is to be one of those 20 people. How do I know you exist? One way is an amazing resume. I've got a 4.2 GPA. We all know these people. We all hate these people, right? They ruin the curve. Most of us don't have a 4.0, 3.8, 3.5. So another way that I'm going to know you exist as a recruiter is someone that I'm familiar with, someone that I've met through events like Meet the Firms, events like the accounting club meetings, events like banquets and so forth, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. So the key is you really need to get actively involved because it's just as important as attending school, but also getting involved in the club. Because think about it, I would say of all the campuses I visit, maybe 15% of the people are actually involved in the accounting club. Guess what? Those recruiters already know who these 15% are. What does that mean? It means you have a step above the rest of the people who are totally uninvolved in the accounting club. Another reason is to become not just a member, but an active member. It looks good on your resume to be a member, but it looks even better to be an active member, which means become an officer. And I always tell people, why did someone become an officer? Is it to help the world become a better place? We are the world. Well, maybe, but also because they then get exposure to the firms and the firms get exposure to them. Usually the officers in the accounting club are the ones who get the jobs because we as professionals see that these people can multitask. First of all, they're able to not only get a decent GPA, but also be actively involved in the club and hold a position such as an officer. Also, those are the people that are contacting us about coming out, for example, and giving a presentation. So we see their ability to, for example, multitask, which is really important in trying to get into the accounting profession. So becoming a member also, it helps you with communication skills because when you have to stand in front of the club and give a presentation, that's stressful. They just did a study and they said the average person is more afraid of public speaking than of death. Hello, I'd much rather give a lousy speech than die, but the key is it's something everyone's afraid of. But guess what? The only time to really get good at that is while you're in school. I mean, that's the key is while you're in school, use all of the opportunities available, especially joining the club. A lot of people think, well, why do I need communication skills? I'm going to become an accountant. I'm going to become an auditor. Well, the key is when I worked at Deloitte, what is auditing? You go out to the company, you pick up management's financial statements. Your job as an auditor is to obtain sufficient, appropriate audit evidence, which means enough good evidence. So that means you have to go out and talk with the client. You might be dealing with a CEO, CFO, controller, accounting manager, fixed asset manager, but you've got to obtain enough good evidence to give an opinion on their financial statements. That means that you have to have the ability to get out there and communicate with these people. So that's why it's important to hone in on these skills now while you're in school. What better way to do it than while you're involved in the club? Some of the other activities, as I said, quite often every week, or every month, depending on how often you have a meeting on your campus, you'll have professionals come in to give a presentation on something. We've had people come in on resume writing. So they talk about how to write a resume. What is a resume? It's a picture of your past and present accomplishments. It kind of shows where you are today and how you got to where you are today. Guess what? You need to learn how to write a resume. One of the other events might be mock interviews, where you get a chance to sit down and actually act as if you're interviewing there. The key is to work on that before you actually go on the interviews. Because if you're going to make a mistake, make it now, not when it really counts. You know, you might go on an interview and all of a sudden you ask the wrong question, right? They're sitting there and you go, hey, I heard you guys got sued. Whoops, open mouth, insert foot. Maybe I'm not going to get a job offer there. I'd rather have you make those mistakes while you're practicing, not when it really comes down to it. Some of the other things, a lot of the events are firm tours. Some of the bigger firms will have a tour. Sign up and go to all of these events. Why? Because it gives you a chance to get your foot in the door and see what it is the firm's really doing. What does it look like as far as what people are doing on a day-to-day basis? Another great event, and this is how I got my job at Deloitte, is an event called Meet the Firms. And what is Meet the Firms? It's called Meet the Firms or Meet the Professionals, and it's an event where The professionals come out and they set up beautiful tables with table skirts. They have literature about the firm. They have all this free stuff. Anytime we are at one of the events, we also give out these wonderful free bags. And I go, here's a bag, go get a bunch of free stuff. And it's not just about, picking up free stuff, but it's about picking up information. The other thing the firms give out, I always tell you to pick these up first, are these mints, right? They're giving these mints out for a reason, right? Because when you're talking to the recruiter and you're talking to them and their eyes are watering, it's not because they're all emotional. Oh, it might be the breath. So these are all some of the freebies that you want to throw into your bag, but you're not there just for the free stuff. You're also there to gain knowledge about the profession. That's where they give you brochures, literature, and so on. But most importantly, you get a chance to sit down and talk with people that are partners, that are recruiters, that are new hires. They may have just been in the same position you're in today 6 months ago. So I love those events. And as I said, that's how I got my job at Deloitte, because I would sit down, I would talk to them, and I would start with the young person and say, hey, you're working here, how long you been here? Why did you choose the firm? What kind of clients do you work on? How is training? And again, why did you choose the firm? That's most important to me. If it worked for them, maybe it'll work for me. Then I'd work my way up and eventually talk to the recruiter and the partner so that they remember who I am. This is called Meet the Firms. It is an invaluable event. If your school does not have one, feel free to contact us. We can give you advice on how to set it up, because this is, again, a very important event as far as learning about the profession and meeting the people that do the hiring. The other reason and the other thing that I got out of the club is learning about what it is I'm heading into. When I was about to apply for a job, I didn't know the difference between public, private, and governmental accounting. How did I learn about it? Through the club. What is public accounting? That's when you work as an external, independent, objective auditor. So for example, when I worked at Deloitte, my job was to go out and audit financial statements. So I'm out there obtaining sufficient, appropriate audit evidence so I can give an opinion on management's financial statements. So when you work in public, you might work in audit versus tax, you might work in consulting, but you're an external auditor. Every couple of weeks or months, you're going to a different client. That means you need good communication skills, as I mentioned earlier, but that's called public accounting. You have private accounting. That's when you work internally within the company. They're a little late for their meeting too. So when you work internally within the firm, let's say for example you're working at, a friend of mine works at Fox. So what does that mean? He works within the firm. That means that he does something called participation accounting, where he figures out on the back end how much the actor, writer, producer, director gets, and then he's in charge of cutting the check, gives it to the president, they meet the actor, here you go, here's your check. Still in the accounting department. Another example is government. What is that? IRS, Franchise Tax Board, DCAA. These are all governmental jobs, but still in accounting. So by studying accounting, all of these are options that are available to you. So again, it's important to learn about that, not when you graduate, but way early, before you do. Another type of event at the end of the season, a lot of schools have things like banquets. One of the speeches I remember attending was called a banquet etiquette, which was awesome, because we've all been to a banquet where first of all, you're sitting at a big round table. And you're like, whose water is whose bread is whose, and so on. Well, what did I learn at that banquet? BD, bread, drink. What does that mean? Bread on the left, drink on the right. Bread, water. So here's my water. Because otherwise you grab the wrong person's water, like, who is this guy? We don't want to hire him. But when you go to a banquet, they're looking at everything. How do you dress? How do you carry yourself? Are you professional? Do you talk with your mouth full? But these are things you need to, again, hone in on while you're in school. A couple of other things, scholarships. We give out scholarships to many of the universities. A lot of the accounting firms give scholarships, but quite often only to the accounting club members. So what does that mean again? Get actively involved. A lot of the friends that I have today are people that I met in school, that I met in the accounting club. So the friends you make today are the contact you'll have tomorrow. As life changes, let's say you lose your job, you build that network, then you're reaching out to these people that you met in the accounting club today that are in the future, controllers, CEOs, CFOs, accounting managers, and so forth. My point is, if you're not sure, should I join the club? Should I not? Definitely join the club. Also become an active member. Remember, you'll get out of the club whatever you put in the club. If you have any questions about that, feel free to contact us as well. Also, check out my Meet the Firms video, which really talks about how to properly prepare, what to wear, what to ask, what not to ask, and so forth at the event called Meet the Firms or Meet the Professionals. Again, you can check out my website at www.rogercpareview.com. Hey, study hard. I'll see you in class.